Yeah, welcome to the Marketing Peer Network Roundtable call. I'm so happy to have you all here today. This is our first peer network call together for the Marketing Peer Network, so kicking it off strong. My name is Brooke Robertson. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with Together SC. Please take a moment and just share your name and your organization in the chat so we can get to know each other. Today, we are joined by our esteemed peer network co-chairs, Abby Harwell, Director of Communications at United Way of the Piedmont, and Alex Moore, a nonprofit consultant. Abby and Alex, it is wonderful to have you here, and thank you for hosting this call today. During today's session, we aim to foster a collaborative environment where we can learn from each other, explore new trends, and ultimately drive greater impact through our marketing efforts as nonprofits. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to our host to kick things off.
Great. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and dive right in because we hope to, as Brooke said, foster a collaborative environment and conversations. So we want to leave as much time for that as possible. So we'll just do some quick pros. First of all, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'll just say, as co-chair of this group, this is our first official, event session thing that we've done as a marketing peer network. So we really, really appreciate you being here. And I'll go ahead and plug the marketing peer network. Please, please, please share the word, invite others, marketing professionals in the nonprofit space. I continue to say it. We are a special breed. And so we really want to have this be I'm going to call it the Cool Kids Club. It really is, let's be honest. So thank you all so much for being here and being part of our very first one. I'll introduce myself. So again, I'm Alex Moore. I am the owner founder of Alex Moore Marketing LLC. I started my LLC a while ago. Many of you may know me from my time at United Way. I am no longer with United Way, but still working a lot with nonprofits and their marketing needs. And so like I said, started my LLC like 5 years ago to sort of be able to do that. And, everybody has a side hustle. Back when COVID happened, right? Everybody started that side hustle. So that was mine. My current email marketing fixation. So I love this. Abby put this little prompt in here and is all about deliverability. Everybody know about Google and Yahoo upending the marketing world, right? We're gonna talk about that. And changing trends. I think email marketing is like, we all know it to be the end all be all of marketing these days. It is like one of the hottest topics. It's why we chose it to be the first topic of this group. And so I think it's changing every single day. And it's certainly different now than what it was when, email marketing first became a thing. So I'm very interested in like seeing where things go. And then we dropped in our favorite marketing or, related meme. This one I saw the other day. And as much as email marketing is a hot topic, we all know AI is even hotter of a topic, right? So I love this meme so much because everybody's freaking out about ChatGPT. And I just like that. I don't think about you at all. People ask me all the time, like, oh, as a marketer, aren't you worried about AI? And the short answer is no. So I'll leave it at that for now as kind of a teaser. So that's me.
And I'm Abby Harwell. As Brooke mentioned, I'm the Director of Communications with United Way of the Piedmont and the Together SC Marketing Peer Network co-chair. I'm very excited to be with you all this morning. I love email marketing. I'm really excited to talk about it and to learn from you and to hear about what you guys are experiencing. I'm thinking a lot right now about bounces and sending reputation, as I learn more and more about email marketing and our particular like platform, about how to make sure like we're ending up in people's inboxes at the end of the day, because bounces and those other metrics can affect like whether you're going to end up somebody's inbox or you're going to be blocked, and that ultimately affects your sending reputation, and it's all connected. And then this is my current favorite marketing meme. I follow some really funny like Instagram accounts though. I feel like there's some good ones out there, but this is the a take on the I'm forgetting their names, but
Beckham's.
Beckham's, there we go. The Beckham documentary, where Victoria is saying, "I'm the head of marketing." He's speaking in, "I'm being honest," and she said, "I am being honest." How many marketers work there? Just me. So if you're a one-person marketing show, which I know a lot of folks in nonprofit marketing are, or you're like a combo operations, you're wearing all the hats, this one's for you.
So, just to talk a little bit about goals and expectations for this session today, we really wanted to, I mean, this is a roundtable, right? And that's how we promoted it. That's how we wanted to think about it. And so how do you do that in a virtual environment? We really wanted to, again, like cultivate this atmosphere of like, pretend, let's all put on our like imagination caps and pretend like we're in a coffee shop, even though we're on Zoom. And to foster those conversations and that connectivity in a virtual space. So that's why we are going to utilize breakout rooms and some polls and things like that to try to really keep this as engaging as possible. And I'll share, that when Abby and I were talking about this session and talking with Brooke and sort of how this is the first one, again, like what's the expectation? That we really wanted it to, again, foster the connection between marketing peers, marketing nonprofit peers. So it's not necessarily that Abby and I are saying we're experts in email marketing. Yes, we have some experience and some resources that we can share, but more than anything, we want the peer network to connect with each other and share what's working for them. And sort of share the trials and tribulations again of being the cool nonprofit marketing club that we are. So we encourage you to share, listen, and learn, and please be engaged and speak up. This is again meant to be as if we're all at a coffee shop together having a fun, morning networking session. So just to put you in that headspace.
And then just some Zoom housekeeping. Please use the chat. I see some of you are already making good use of it. Ask questions, use the reaction buttons at the bottom. You can unmute and share your thoughts. This isn't very, like Alex said, this is not a very formal environment. You can stay muted when you're not speaking, particularly if you have background noise, but we really want you to feel free to be engaged and share thoughts. If you can keep your camera on, if that's possible, we love to see your faces, particularly when you're in breakout rooms. No worries if that's not possible. But if you can, that's great. And then breakout rooms. We're gonna spend a lot of time in those this morning. And so we just want to prepare you to, if you can unmute and share aloud. If you can't, be sure you're using the chat in the breakout rooms throughout the session. I think we're going to divide, if all goes well, by what email marketing platform you're using. And so, Brooke, if you'll launch the Zoom poll right now, and you should see what platform you're using. So if you can answer that real quick for us. And I see the answers.
Yeah, I see them rolling it. This is fascinating.
Yeah,
I'm
surprising
so
number
excited.
of others.
Yeah. Which is I can't wait to like hear what the others are.
Okay, I think
Okay, that's everybody's answered. So yep.
That's
Great.
and I
Cool.
think if we have a smaller, like maybe the Outlook and Constant Contact, can we combine?
Yeah, I think that would make
Groups?
sense.
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
And can we share those results?
Yeah, can you guys see the results? Yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah. So I think this is a good, like we said, we just wanted to put people together that could have conversations. And let me tell you, it's like, oh my God, I hate this about constant contact, or, that's so have those kinds of, again, commiseration, conversations. So that's how we'll do breakout rooms. But before we get to breakout rooms, let's do a quick sort of as a group, and this is us getting loosened up this morning. Hope everybody had their coffee. Again, put you in that headspace of a coffee shop, and feel free to use the chat, but we'd also welcome folks to come off of mute to answer a couple of these questions, again, just to kind of get the juices flowing this morning. So first would be sort of, what are your biggest email marketing challenges? So specific to the email marketing space, what are your biggest challenges? And then what are your biggest email marketing questions? Of course, like I said earlier, we're not necessarily saying that we're going to be able to answer all of those or address all of those challenges in this session today, but we just as a group want to hear, what are people's challenges? What are your questions? What are you struggling with? So I see a couple already in the chat, growing our email list, so that we're going to talk about data collection. And again, I'll stop talking and let anybody come off mute that would like to speak to one of these questions. Sally Ingalls, I see you raising your hand. Thank you for volunteering.
Hey, yeah, of course. Sally Ingalls at South Carolina Legal Services. We use MailChimp as our email marketing platform. And so I think we're on the tail end of this challenge, but it's been an ongoing challenge for, unfortunately, probably like a year and a half, is moving all of we were very listserv heavy with how we were communicating with people when we used Outlook for email marketing. And then when I came on in my role, they had kind of started moving over to MailChimp, but not in a very organized fashion. So we kind of had to start all of that from scratch. And so moving all those listservs over to MailChimp, and I'm talking like over 150 listservs that we had in Outlook. Moving all of those over to MailChimp has been quite a process, and then updating them as we're moving them. And then trying to navigate how to organize those in MailChimp in a way that makes sense for a nonprofit, because MailChimp is set up in a lot of ways for like commerce. And so I think I've got it figured out at this point, like a year and a half later. And how to utilize the tagging feature in MailChimp as like a listserv title equivalent. But again, I don't know that it's been a lot to navigate, like how to then utilize that with different email marketing campaigns. And we upgraded our MailChimp account, and that helped a lot. I'm very thankful that we were able to do that, because it helped a lot with how detailed we could get in our segmenting, and like how many tags, or for us listservs, that we could include on an email. But yeah, that was a big challenge that, again, I think I'm on the tail end of. And then I would say the other one would just be trying to get buy-in for email marketing. My first challenge was getting buy-in for social media, and I think I've finally gotten that, but convincing, we have 9 offices throughout the state, so convincing them that it's better for me to send it through MailChimp and do some like targeted sending than it would be to, send from their office manager to the contacts that they have in Outlook. So I'll let somebody else speak. That was just email marketing has been a big growth point for me in our organization. So I wanted to jump in.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I had to at one point do the opposite, go from MailChimp to a CRM, like inclusive marketing in email and you're making me sweat. Like, I hated it. It was terrible. So thank you for sharing. Is somebody else want to share?
I know we're doing breakout sessions based on what platform we use, but we use MailChimp. I struggle with, just in general, I feel that MailChimp subscriber and contact section feels very clunky to me. And so I feel like my challenge is all, get in there, do something, and then I end up getting frustrated because it's like, what is this even doing? And I agree with what you said about it being better for commerce. So it is a little difficult to figure out ways. So I was interested to hear more about your solution that you shared.
All right, the MailChimp group is already going.
Yeah, get ready for the data management section.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we've also got some great kind of comments coming in the chat. So I'll just take us a second to sort of run through those. So folks have shared open rate and growing their email list, keeping clean database. Abby, whoever, Brooke, you and Abby, kindred spirits. Stagnant growth and open rates, click-throughs to giving. That's an interesting one. Growing our contacts and open rates, collecting emails, keeping an up-to-date database and consistency. Again, data management, y'all. Challenges being sort of reaching donor stakeholders rather than mostly those that we serve or staff. Ooh, that's a good like audience management. And we had some folks echo that one. Major database problem, mostly due to lack of time, needing to cull bad emails and unsubscribes to reduce email list numbers. Cost is what I'm hearing there. So costs affiliated with different email platforms. And so again, keeping the data clean so that you're not sending emails needlessly and then getting charged for them. All big things that we're all dealing with. So anybody else, anything that wasn't shared that someone would like to add as far as challenges or questions?
I have more of a question. This is Kimberly out of Greenville. I work for Compass of Carolina, and I'm really new to the non-marketing space. So I've been in marketing most of my career, but I was in the for-profit side. So one thing that I'm seeing as I start to work more in our CRM, and we actually use Constant Contact, one thing that I'm seeing is I'm not sure what the best approach is for information disbursement. So is it better to do more of a newsletter type setting where you have links where they can do click-throughs to the full articles and to other information? Or is it better to just lay all that out in the email itself and just see if you can get higher open rates? So I don't know if anybody else has any comments on that, but kind of comparison between open rates and click-throughs.
That's a great one. And I think, you know, how I said, I'm so interested in like changing marketing, email marketing trends. And I mean that from a truly what is in the email, because there's differing opinions on, oh, you need to keep it short and sweet because people don't read their emails, versus no, if you want them to see it, put it in the email because they're not going to click outside. So yeah, I think one of our questions kind of speaks to that a little bit in our breakout rooms, but if not, we will definitely put that on the parking lot as a topic maybe for the end that we can discuss. So thank you for sharing that.
And
Thank you.
Kimberly, I'll just add, I think some of that is like trial and error with your audience and seeing what works, because it can depend on who you're communicating to. You know, if you have I don't know, really data-driven audience, like maybe they'll be more likely to like click through a report. Or if you're a client database, maybe it's better to make it like more convenient. So I think thinking through that, but yes,
Good point.
more conversation, I think, to be had there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for sharing. Anybody else? Going once, twice. All right, let's set those breakout rooms. Okay, so I think, nope. All right, let me just leave it on this screen because we're gonna go into our breakout rooms now. And Abby is gonna share our first question for the breakout rooms. We don't have it on a slide. In fact, I'm gonna stop sharing. Abby, if you'll share the question verbally, and then we'll put it in the chat as well.
Yes. So we have I guess, kind of 3 sections of breakout rooms this morning, and we tried to think about sort of big email marketing topics. So the first one is content creation, you know, so the actual creating of the email. So think about all things copywriting, design. We have a question about AI. So I'll just read those questions aloud, but then like Alex said, I'll put them in the chat as well, so you have access to those. And again, like in these breakout rooms, we want you to there'll be a facilitator at least there for part of it, but feel free to like jump right in and start sharing. And then what you'll do is you'll sort of share as your breakout room group, and then we'll come back and then share out as a bigger group. So you can share what's working or not working. And then we'll have about 10 minutes for this first one. So content creation, we want to know, what does your sort of typical email include and look like? What's resonating for your audience? What are people engaging with in terms of content? Talked about this open rates, clicking, replying to. What does content creation in general look like for you? What platforms are you using for design and copywriting? Are you doing it all within the platform? Are you using an external tool? Do you use AI to create content? If you do, what does that look like? And then are you repurposing content across different channels? And by that, I mean, like, are you using something on social media that you're also using in newsletters, or something on your website, like a blog? Are you using that? So how are you doing that? What's your strategy there? So I'm going to drop all of these questions in the chat.
And while she's doing that, this one we thought was gonna be kind of a big discussion. We know content, like actually creating the emails, is something that we hear a lot of, like just finding the time to do that. So we expect this one to be one of the longer topics. So we're gonna give it 10 minutes to discuss in the breakout rooms. So you'll have a good amount of time to sort of discuss this.
Cool. I think that's everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it kicked everybody out, so we should be good.
Well, I know that it flew by for our room. But
Ew.
yeah, so
Good
much to talk
conversation.
about. Yeah. But did anybody have sort of big takeaways or kind of aha moments in their breakout room, or a good nugget you're gonna take back to apply to your work?
Karen shared that they do like an annual survey to gauge audience satisfaction. And so I may try to implement that just to make sure that the recipients of our emails are actually enjoying the content that we're creating.
Very cool.
Nice.
I am gonna take a tip from Aaliyah and look into smart brevity.
Mm-mm.
You said smart brevity. Is that a tool?
Aaliyah mentioned it as something that they use, like a writing style. I don't know. I'm furiously Googling it over here.
Okay.
So I
Oh.
subscribe to a newsletter called Axios, and they write in smart brevity style. And they actually have like webinars and trainings on how to write like more succinctly. And then they also have a book that I'm reading now. One great tip that I learned from them, they suggest, so all of this is like research based. And so they suggest like not having a headline with more than 6 words. One of the reasons for that is because when you're reading an email on your mobile device, that is all that the recipient would be able to see. They talk about like the number of syllables that you use in the words. And so we've implemented that and we've gotten really great feedback. And I'm still reading the book, so but I really enjoy their newsletters. So
Nice.
That's cool.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, I'm curious, I'd seen a piece of information saying that you get better results including emojis in your subject headers. Has anybody actually seen that in practice work for them? Because a lot of the issues that we send out emails about are relatively serious, Medicaid renewals, that sort of thing. And you don't want like the little guy with sunglasses at the end of it, because it's just not appropriate. So I was just curious if anybody had any experience with that.
I use all the emojis, but it's because our content is sharing and learning and fun. So
Yeah.
I do.
I'm
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Maddie.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that there are some emojis that you can use that may seem more appropriate. Like there's like a megaphone. There's a couple variations of that just are like draw your attention, but I don't think are necessarily like distasteful that we use occasionally.
I was going to say something similar. We have relatively similar content, but I will say I have not actually seen any direct results in practice of whether or not the emojis make a big difference. I kind of feel it out when we're writing content. I wanted to circle back to Aaliyah's discussion of using smart brevity because I think it's a really interesting concept and it sounds a lot like something that we talk about a lot at Able from an accessibility side, which is using plain language, which is just what it sounds like. It is language that everyone can understand. So that usually means keeping things very, very brief and concise, doing a lot of self-editing. And Brittany mentioned using ChatGPT to make a marketing campaign sequence. ChatGPT can be a really great editing helper if you're needing to take a really wordy document and rewrite it into plain language. However, I would caution to absolutely edit after ChatGPT's edit because its use of flowery language is not appropriate for plain language or if you're trying to be brief, but it can kind of help set up that kind of momentum, especially if you're really struggling to get your thoughts together and you just have a bunch of like bullet point, just tell it to write me an 8-sentence paragraph or something and it'll pop something out and you can kind of work from there. But those have been some things that we do.
Yeah, I always find that ChatGPT always takes at least 2 entries into it. So you get your first input, you try to be as descriptive as possible, it comes back with something. And then my second reply is usually always going to include something along fewer adjectives. Let's just calm it down a little bit. This event's going to be great. I don't know that it'll be transformative.
Always transformative.
Yeah.
I will say if you're trying to use ChatGPT as well to write something for the youths, it's funny. Don't use it. It is wildly dated, but it's definitely worth a laugh if you need it.
Mary Alex, can I ask a question that's kind of just brief and on the topic? Is one of the things that we've really been striving for lately is that accessibility, especially when it comes to social media and our website, our newsletter, whenever we include graphics and photos. With the different readers that then describe those, I've read a whole bunch of different articles with wildly different opinions about how to use that alternative text in a way that is useful to the user. And I worry sometimes that I'm having a hard time finding that balance between the brevity and the plain language you're talking here and getting carried away with detail. And then suddenly I'm writing a novel about the graphic. Do you have any tips on how to approach that particular topic?
So I do an entire workshop on this. So I will give you like a 1-sentence snippet, but like this is something that really is a matter of practice and skill building. Generally speaking, for alternative text specifically, 125 characters or less is the kind of general mode. And then really sticking to what's the main purpose of the image. So if it's a headshot of somebody, for example, you don't really need to describe their background or what's going on unless it directly contributes to the headshot or the use of the headshot. But it's best to kind of stick to, very direct descriptions. We don't shy away from race. We don't shy away from gender. We don't shy away from disability when doing those visual descriptions of individuals. But yes, it can become rather cumbersome when you start getting incredibly detailed, but that's where image description is really beneficial. So our advice is to provide both. So alternative text that does the 125 words or less, or characters, excuse me, or less. And then you can provide an additional image description that's within the post of what you're putting on social media or within your caption if you're, doing an email or something, that has additional description of the image. But it's also about knowing your audience. But I I can literally talk about that for 2 hours. So I'll stop there.
I'm gonna jump in because we are already at 9:51, y'all, and this webinar was only scheduled for an hour. So one question I'm gonna ask, and please just drop this in the chat as we set up our next breakout room, is would you be open to this being longer? Because this is amazing conversation, and I think, again, this being our first one, we had a lot of different ideas and a lot of different topics to talk about, but we are already approaching our time. So I'm gonna suggest, Abby and Brooke, that we kind of combine the last two. So our next topic for the next breakout room is related to data management. That was what we saw a lot of questions about early on when we first joined, about those questions and challenges that folks have. So data management. The other topic we kind of wanted to touch on was reporting. So people have already talked about click rates, open rates. What are you tracking? What are you getting from it? You know, the depth of the analytics that you're using. But then really that data management part. How are you getting your data? How are you managing it? How are you keeping it clean? Abby's got the questions. She's going to drop them in the chat. And I think we're going to go ahead and break out into our next breakout room. And we're just going to spend a quick 5-ish,
4 minutes.
4 to 5 minutes on it, because I do want to also ask what, we got one more thing at the end. So let's hit those breakout rooms.
I'll just say, I mentioned earlier in the presentation, I'm thinking a lot about sending reputation, and being able to segment your list into really specific groups really improves email engagement. That's industry-wide data. So Mary Alex, if you need to convince your development director, email marketing is like the top way to get someone to give. And
I think she knows that. I think it's just reconciling the fact that we have 2 different platforms right now. And I did want to share with the group before we left today. I'm sure people have seen articles and things stating that, by 2025, social media usage is going to go down by like 50%. And there's a lot of data out there about how people are starting to turn away from social media for various reasons. And email marketing may become king again, which I think really emphasizes the importance of this conversation and spending time cleaning your data, determining who belongs to what group. So I appreciate this conversation today.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's already king, honestly. So we are out of time. We were going to do a poll at the end. I know Brooke has a poll that she will be sending to everybody who participated today in an email follow-up. I'm not even going to share, but I would say if you have 2 seconds before we end this conversation, to drop in the chat any topics we didn't cover, anything you want to talk about. And again, if you'd be open to this sort of session being a little bit longer, because wow, that flew by, y'all.
And to wrap us up, I just want to thank everybody and our leadership team members for hosting this call today. And I also want to give you guys a heads up. The amazing Brittany Masick will be hosting a AI for Nonprofits call that's more than an hour long on June 12th. And I'll put the link in the chat so you can go ahead and register for that. But thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back.